Hey guys, so we are learning about surface area of rectangular prisms. Okay, so surface area, I want y'all to think about that word for a minute, surface and area. So in math, when we're looking for the area of something, we're looking for kind of like the total covering of a flat surface, right? Let's say this is a rectangle. The area would be everything in blue, right? Everything on the inside, okay? So that would be the area, right? Now, surface, think about the surface of something, right? Like, what if I ask you, where is the surface of this phone? Okay, well, it's going to be the screen, right? Now, ask yourself, is the screen on the inside of the phone or the outside, right? It's on the outside, of course. Okay, so surface area is finding the total covering of the outside of an object, of a three-dimensional object. So surface area is the total covering on the surface of a three-dimensional object, okay? And it'll always be measured in units squared, okay? So, list some examples of a time you need to find surface area. Well, one thing I know you would need to find the surface area for is wrapping presents. Okay, because think about it. Most presents you get will come in a box, right? And people usually wrap their gifts in wrapping paper. So all that wrapping paper is going to be used on the outside of the box, right? Because we're not filling up that box or that present with wrapping paper, are we? No, we're just covering the outside, okay, or the surface of that present. Okay, so wrapping presents is one. What about painting a 3D object? Okay, so like think about if you're sitting in a room right now, you're probably in a rectangular prism room, right? Where you have four walls around you, have a ceiling and a floor, okay? So that is a 3D object. Now, the walls, they had to paint them, right? They need to know the surface area to know how much they need to know how much paint they need to buy so they don't buy too much or too little, okay? So wrapping presents, painting on a 3D object, and then what about your clothes? Think about it. Our body is a three-dimensional object, right? Our skin is our surface area. And why do we wear clothes? To cover up and to protect our skin, okay? So, moving on. Rectangular prisms are made up of the following faces, okay? Number one, they have bases. And how many do they have? Two. So bases are the two rectangular, parallel, and congruent faces. So let's break that down. Rectangular obviously means that it's in the shape of a rectangle. Okay. Parallel means opposite in this case. Opposite. Okay. Let me go ahead and write that. Opposite. Okay. And congruent means same slash equal to. Okay, so the two bases have to be rectangular, or they need to be in the shape of a rectangle. They need to be opposite from each other or parallel from each other, and they need to be congruent, right, or equal to each other or the same as each other. Okay. Now, then we have lateral faces, which are the four rectangular faces connecting the bases. So, if we go back to that comparison, thinking you're in a room, right? Usually you'll have four walls around you and the ceiling and the floor. Your two bases would be the ceiling and the floor, okay? Now the four lateral faces would be the four walls surrounding you, okay? So think about that for a second, all right? The blank of a rectangular prism, okay, so the height of a rectangular prism, or h, is the distance between the two bases. Okay, so the height will be the distance that's connecting the two bases. So again, if we're thinking about that room, whatever the distance is from your floor to your ceiling, will be the height of the prism. Okay? So, shade the bases of each rectangular prism below, then label H the height of the prism. So, I'm going to go ahead and do one right now. Now, after the first one, I want y'all to pause the video, try and go ahead and shade in the bases and the height yourself, and then resume the video to see if you got the right answers. Okay. So, let's say that we use this side as our base. Okay. This is my base. Now, what is the side that is number one? It has to be a rectangle, because remember, the bases have to be rectangular. Okay. Well, these are all these sides are in the shape of a rectangle. Okay. It has to be parallel from it. So on the other side, now this base right here, the one on the other side, or the side that's parallel, will be this side right here. Okay. So this is my other base. Here's one base, and then here is another. Okay. Now, what is the height that is connecting the two bases? Well, this right here is my distance between the two bases. Anything that I'm covering in green. And I hope y'all can see it, but if not, it's the distance or the lines that are connecting the two bases together. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of the three. I want y'all to, if y'all can, pause the video, try it for yourself real quick, and then whenever you're done with these three, go ahead and resume the video and see if you got it correctly, okay? So I'm shading in my base right here and right here. Okay, because they are congruent to each other, they are parallel or opposite from each other, and they're both rectangles, okay? So then that means this right here would be my height. I'll just write H. Okay, now, the third one. Your bottom would be the base 1. Up here would be base 2. So here's your base. Here's your other base. Okay? And then the distance between the two are right here. Okay. And then last but not least, let's say that I want to use this side as one of my bases. Okay. Okay, that's one base. Now the other base would have to be parallel from it, which is this side right here. Are they congruent? Yes, they are, because they are the same exact size. And they are both rectangular. Okay. So these are my two bases. Base and base. Okay, and then the distance connecting the two would be right up here. Okay. H. All right. So there we go. We shaded in our bases. We found the height. Okay. That's all we got to do for this part. So now let's go ahead and let's talk about the formula for the two. All right. So this one is lateral surface area, or LSA. Okay. That's lateral surface area. Now, lateral surface area is the surface area of the rectangular prisms, not including the bases. So if we go back to that example of, imagine you're sitting in your room right now, or any kind of room, right, with 4 walls, a ceiling, and a floor. The lateral surface area would find the surface area of just the 4 walls around you, okay, not the 2 bases, right, just the 4 walls around you. So let's see. The formula calls for P times H. Okay, perimeter times height. Now, the P will stand for, and I just said it, but perimeter of the base. Okay, so P stands for perimeter of the base. Now the height will stand for height of the prism. Okay, height of the prism. So, like I said, the height of the prism is the distance between the two bases. Okay, so if you're in that room again with four walls, a ceiling, and a floor, okay, the distance between the floor and the ceiling is the height of the prism. Okay, essentially. All right. Now I want to put this formula into our own words. So what is it telling us to do right here? Just multiply perimeter times the height. So what do you need to do? Find your perimeter. 1 second. Okay. So first, we want to find the perimeter of the base, then multiply by the height of the prism. Okay. All right, so what's the formula telling us to do? Find the perimeter of the base, then multiply by the height of the prism. Okay, so remember, perimeter means to find the outside of a two-dimensional base, right? Like in this case, our base is always going to be a rectangle. So all you got to do to find the perimeter of the base is add up all the outsides. Okay, so now the total surface area, okay, or I'll put TSA. Your total surface area is pH, which if you recognize is the same exact formula for lateral surface area. So it's pH plus 2b. Now, what does that b stand for? Area of the base. Okay? So we have to find area of the base, this capital B, and then we have to multiply it by 2. Now, why do you think that is? Why do you think we had to multiply the amount or the area of the base by 2? Well, if you think about it, we have two bases, right? Now, again, if we're in that room, okay, 4 walls, a ceiling, and a floor, your ceiling and your floor are going to be your bases. So, how many do we have? Well, 1 for the ceiling, 1 for the floor. That's why you're multiplying your area of the base by 2. Okay. Now, perimeter, the P stands for the same thing. So, perimeter of the base, and then H stands for height of the prism. Okay, so perimeter of the base, height of the prism, and area of the base. That's the 3 things we need to find the total surface area. Okay, so what's the formula telling us to do? This is my formula. Well, it's telling you to multiply perimeter times height. So P times H plus 2 times the area of the base. All right? So in our own words, what are we doing? Multiply the perimeter of the base, perimeter of the base. Okay. So multiply the perimeter of the base with the height of the prism, then add 2 times the area of the base. Okay. So multiply the perimeter of the base with the height of the prism, then add 2 times the area of the base, so 2x area of the base. Okay. So in the next video, we're going to go over some example problems, all right? And I'll see y'all there.